I'm reading our comments, and I don't know if we've had a celebrity, because we're going to talk about Bob Saget, but I don't know if we've had a celebrity that have moved our viewers to the point to where I'm hearing personal stories of people that have met him, people that felt like it was their father in their living room. So yes, we begin today with some very sad news that obviously a lot of you have already heard about. Bob Saget died yesterday at a hotel in Orlando. He was 65 years old, and he leaves behind his wife and 3 kids. Now, of course, Bob was most famous for his role as Danny Tanner, the lovable dad who loved to clean on Full House. So many of us grew up watching him on the show. Bob was also the host of America's Funniest Home Videos from 1989 until 1997. And Bob began his career in stand-up, and many people were shocked to learn his comedy routines, well, were a little bit more controversial than what we were familiar with on his TV show. So it is important to note, and I want everybody to hear this because I see a lot of speculation in regard to Bob Saget. It's important to note that the Orange County Sheriff's Office tweeted that there were no signs of foul play or drug use in this case. Now, Tori, I want to begin with you because I know that you interviewed Bob a couple years ago. That was quite an interview for you. What do you remember about him?
I just remember I felt like I was talking to like one of you guys by the end. He talked a lot about being Jewish and growing up in the South. He was really funny about and did some jokes that like made me blush, which is just so Bob Saget. And he also talked about cancel culture and how he works through doing self-deprecating humor and thinks that's the best way to go. But really, he was just like, he didn't have that aura of like, you're below me. He had the aura of, I'm having a conversation with an equal. And that's really all I can say is that the nicest way of dealing with someone.
Yeah, and to your point, Tori, a lot of Bob Saget's Full House co-stars are paying tribute to him, and they all echo the same thing, right? Just what a good guy he is. In fact, John Stamos tweeted, I am broken, I'm gutted, I am in complete and utter shock. I will never, ever have another friend like him. I love you so much, Bobby. Candace Cameron Bure tweeted, I don't know what to say. I have no words. Bob was one of the best human beings I have ever known in my life. I loved him so much. And Andrea Barber, who played Kimmy Gibbler on Full House, posted this photo on Instagram saying, rest well, my dear friend. I have no doubt you are making everyone in heaven laugh until their cheeks hurt, just as you did here on earth. You know, Jeff, you always comment on the show about how it's about how you're remembered as a good person. Every single person that knew him, and we all have personal friends that knew Bob Saget, and they all say the same thing. He's all heart. Such a good friend, such a good person, such a good father.
Yeah, and I think that's what life is. In the end, that's what you want people to say, right? And I think that says a lot for Bob Saget. Man, we lost some good ones already in the years just starting. Bob Saget's one of them. Bob Saget is a comedian first. People might not know that. They know him as Danny Tanner, the host of America's Funniest Videos. But he's a comedian. And Al, you could testify to this. He worked his way up in his business very deservingly. And he was who he was because of that hard work, because of that work ethic. And it speaks a lot when you have friends in this business for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. That says a lot about your personality. And that was Bob Saget. Everybody loved him. He was very willing with his time. A lot of the podcasts I listened to, ironically enough, he'd pop in and out of all those different genres of podcasts. And I'm like, man, this is just a guy's guy, someone like the people who just wants to talk, tell his old stories. And that was Bob Saget. We lost a good one. And people I don't think know truly who he was.
Jeff, such a great point, and there's so much to unpack with his life, and unfortunately we don't have all the time in the world to talk about it. But I will say this. Bob did something that's very difficult to do today, which is he had kind of this duality of his character that we knew on television. On television, he literally was America's dad. But at night, doing stand-up, I worked with him coming up in South Florida a bunch of times. There used to be a banner across the double doors that led into the showroom saying this is an adult show with adult language, no refunds. Because people would go in there thinking they were going to see Danny Tanner, and he was a funny adult comic, not dirty or filthy, but he was very adult. And the fact that he was able to get away with that and no one said, hey, you're supposed to be this nice guy, but on stage you're a different person. He showed us that we're all different people at different points of the day, at different points of our life. And he never just tried to lean into, I'm this goody-goody all the time. He showed us all that, like, we all have a couple different points of our personality. And I think that's why we're all feeling this loss right now.
How are your comedy friends feeling? I know that you have a really tight-knit community, and I know that last night when we were talking, you were saying just everyone's in deep sorrow. How are they doing?
I mean, everybody's in shock because the thing is, Bob works. Like, Bob's worth millions of dollars. I'm not breaking any news there. He didn't have to do anything. He could be in the Hamptons right now getting fanned and eating grapes. He died on the road, the way real comics do, unfortunately, performing. His last show, he died the night after he had a show. And that's why comics respected him so much. He was such an authentic person. And honestly, Sam, I'll be honest, you know, I'm checking the Vines, talking to a bunch of comics that have worked with him, and just like, was drugs ever a thing? Alcohol? Never a drug guy, never an alcohol guy. And I found myself asking, not because I wanted to blame him, but because I think there's a human thing where we all just want a reason.
Right.
Why did something this great go away? And it just, that's life.
And listen, I want to bring up the fact, because a lot of people are immediately go to his Instagram, right, for answers, but you brought up how he loved to be on the road. So I want to show our viewers this photo because he posted this a day ago saying how much he loved his show that night in Jacksonville, Florida. He commented that the audience was really nice and positive and that he loved every moment of being back on stage. Also, check out this post by Bob's wife, Kelly Rizzo. It was their last post together, showing all the fun the two had over the past year. Oh man, grief is just so hard. You know, Al, you can speak to this, you know, losing your father. When I lost Eric, and still to this day, like, people say time heals all wounds. Personally, I know it's only been a month and a half for me. I'm just learning to live with grief. It's not that time is healing those wounds. It's almost like scar tissues building up, and I'm just learning to live with grief, not that it's getting any easier. How did you deal with losing your dad?
I mean, I let the process play out, and there is going to be anger, there's going to be confusion, there's going to be sadness, but also that scar tissue also gives you a little buffer to think about the good things, to still laugh about things that they did or said, and it gives you some perspective in terms of how you look at their life. So that's how I did with my father, and that's what I want you to do with Eric. Is like, yes, we are all going to die, but don't do that. I wouldn't do that to your memory or Jeff's memory or Tori's memory to only remember the fact that you died. I want to remember how you lived and what Jeff and Tori and you, how you guys made me feel. So that's what I want to do. Anytime somebody passes, just like, don't shortchange their life by just focusing on the last week.
Amen. Amen. They say the deeper you loved, the deeper the grief will be. That love and grief are one and the same. And for some odd reason, that feels comforting to me because it's almost like a symbol of love.
You cared.